Step into the shadows of cinema's golden era, where screams echoed through dark theaters. And fear was beautifully crafted, not manufactured. These weren't just movies, they were nightmares carved into film reels, haunting generations long after the credits rolled. From Psycho's chilling shower to Halloween's silent stalker, every frame defined what terror truly means. So, dim the lights, take a deep breath, and dare to relive the horrors that shaped modern fear. Are you brave enough to watch till the end? 1. Psycho, 1960. A lonely motel, a nervous smile, and a scream that changed cinema forever. There's something eerily peaceful about the Bates Motel, that kind of quiet that makes your skin prickle. As if the night itself is holding its breath, the neon sign buzzes faintly in the rain, reflecting off the wet asphalt. A weary traveler, Marion Crane, arrives seeking shelter and redemption. She's on the run, clutching stolen money that was supposed to change her life. But fate has a cruel way of leading lost souls into darker places. Behind the counter stands Norman Bates, a boyish man with a shy smile and eyes that flicker with nervous warmth. He speaks softly, almost apologetically, as if afraid of disturbing the air around him. "Mother isn't quite herself today," he says, his words trembling between guilt and fear. There's a loneliness in his voice, the kind that wraps around you and whispers that something isn't right. Psycho isn't just a film, it's a descent into the human mind's most fragile corners. Hitchcock doesn't need ghosts or monsters, he lets the darkness hide behind politeness. Behind the careful folds of a man's smile, each shot feels like a confession, the taxidermied birds looming over the parlor, the eerie house on the hill, the faint creak of floorboards. The dread builds not in shouts but in silence. And then comes the shower scene, the one that changed horror forever. The curtain draws back, the knife gleams, and the violins scream. It's not the blood that terrifies, it's the suddenness, the loss of safety. You realize, in that split second, that evil doesn't always come from the outside. It's born in ordinary hearts, in repression, guilt, and loneliness too deep to escape. Norman Bates is not a monster by design, he's a man shaped by love turned poisonous. His mother lives within him, whispering commands he cannot resist. And when the truth finally unravels, when we see Norman's face soften into that chilling smile in the police cell, the horror becomes something more intimate, the quiet terror of a mind broken beyond repair. Even after the screen fades to black, the silence feels heavier. You'll catch yourself glancing toward the bathroom door, half expecting the curtain to move. You'll think of Norman's hesitant grin, his gentle voice, and wonder, how close are we, really, to the edge he fell from? So the next time you hear the water running, take a deep breath, listen to the stillness between each drop. Because once you've seen Psycho, the quiet of a lonely motel will never feel the same again. 2. Rosemary's Baby, 1968. A mother's love twisted into terror. When the child she carries may not be human at all. There's something deceptively ordinary about the Bramford apartments, elegant, old, and filled with whispering neighbors who always seem a little too friendly. When Rosemary and her husband, Guy, move in, they dream of starting a new life, building a family, and chasing their ambitions. But dreams in New York have a way of turning sour. Behind every smile lies a secret. And behind every wall, something is listening. Rosemary is fragile, hopeful, glowing with that innocent excitement of motherhood. She believes she's safe, surrounded by caring neighbors who bring her homemade drinks, strange herbs, and constant attention. But as the days pass, her reality begins to bend. The line between kindness and control starts to blur. She wakes from nightmares drenched in sweat, visions of dark rituals, of masked faces, of hands reaching out in the dark. And then, she begins to wonder if they were dreams at all. Roman Polanski doesn't shock you with blood. He suffocates you with doubt. The fear seeps slowly, drop by drop, like poison disguised as medicine. Every smile hides a conspiracy. Every kind gesture feels rehearsed. Even Guy, her husband, starts to change, his career suddenly rising, his affection growing cold. You can almost hear Rosemary's thoughts spiraling. What if it's all true? What if they want my baby? The genius of Rosemary's Baby is how it traps you inside her mind. You feel her isolation, her helplessness, her desperate fight to hold onto her sanity. The walls close in. The city hums outside, indifferent to her cries. And by the time the truth reveals itself, that the life growing inside her belongs not to her, but to something unholy, it's too late. The betrayal is complete, and the horror is no longer supernatural, it's deeply human. But here's the most haunting part. Rosemary still looks at her child with love. In that final, chilling moment, when she hears the infant's cry and sees his eyes, not human, not innocent, she rocks him gently, whispering with trembling lips. Maternal instinct overcomes reason, even when faced with the devil himself. It's not the devil that terrifies you in Rosemary's Baby. It's the realization that evil doesn't need horns or fire. It can wear a neighbor's smile, speak through a husband's voice, and grow quietly beneath a mother's heart. So, if you ever feel something watching you through the walls, or a friendly neighbor offering special tea, maybe ask yourself, are they being kind, or preparing you for something far darker? Because once you've seen Rosemary's Baby, trust will never feel the same again. 3. Night of the Living Dead, 1968, When the Dead Rise. It's not the monsters outside that you should fear, it's the people trapped inside. The night begins with silence, a country road, a cemetery, and the uneasy sound of wind rustling through dead leaves. Barbara and her brother joke nervously among the gravestones, unaware that the world they know is about to end. Then he appears, a staggering figure, pale and slow, yet unstoppable. One bite, one scream, and everything descends into chaos. The dead are no longer at rest. They've come back, hungry, mindless, endless. George A. Romero didn't just create a horror movie, he birthed a new nightmare. One that crawled out of the grave and into the heart of American fear. Night of the Living Dead traps a handful of survivors in a lonely farmhouse, surrounded by creatures that were once human. But as the night deepens, it becomes clear that the true horror isn't outside. It's the panic, mistrust, and desperation festering within those walls. Ben, the quiet, steady stranger, tries to hold the group together. Barbara drifts between hysteria and shock. Upstairs, a family hides with their dying daughter, and below, the cellar becomes both sanctuary and tomb. Every decision splits them apart. Every argument is another nail in their coffin. You can almost feel the air growing thinner, the walls closing in, as fear turns them against each other. Romero's genius lies not in the gore but in the mirror he holds up to humanity. The undead claw at the windows, relentless, but they are only shadows of what people become when survival is all that's left. The television broadcasts collapse into static. The world outside burns. Inside, the survivors argue over who deserves the cellar key. By dawn, the house is a graveyard of its own making. And then comes the ending, cruel, sudden, unforgettable. Just when you think hope has survived the night, the light brings no salvation. A gunshot cracks through the quiet morning, and justice becomes just another mistake. You stare at the screen, hollow, realizing that the living can be far colder than the dead. What makes Night of the Living Dead timeless isn't the zombies, it's the truth it whispers. That fear doesn't always come from monsters. Sometimes, it grows inside the hearts of those still breathing. So, when the world goes quiet and the news begins to sound too familiar, when people turn on each other faster than they face the darkness, ask yourself, who would you be if the dead came knocking tonight? 4. The Exorcist, 1973, When Innocence Meets the Unholy. Faith itself trembles before the darkness that takes hold. It starts quietly, a strange sound in the attic, a faint chill in the room, a mother's growing unease. Regan is just a 12-year-old girl, bright and curious, living with her actress mother in Georgetown. But soon, she begins to change. Words no child should know pour from her mouth. Objects move on their own. Her laughter turns into something that doesn't sound human. And in the dead of night, a voice that is not hers whispers from the shadows. You can almost feel the helplessness of her mother, Chris, as she runs from doctor to doctor, priest to priest, searching for logic in the madness that has invaded her home. But there's no medical answer for evil. The more they test, the more the line between science and faith begins to dissolve. And when Regan's eyes roll white and her voice becomes a chorus of demons, There's no denying it, something ancient has claimed her. Enter Father Karras, a priest haunted by his own doubts, and Father Marin, an aging exorcist who has stared into the abyss before. Together, they step into that small bedroom, the battleground between heaven and hell. The air grows heavy, the temperature drops, and the demon laughs, mocking their prayers. Every word of scripture is met with violence, every plea with defiance. You can almost hear the walls themselves breathing, waiting for one side to break. But The Exorcist isn't just about possession. It's about the terror of losing control, of watching someone you love become a stranger. It's about faith being tested until it shatters, and then somehow finding the strength to rebuild it. The horror isn't just in the spinning heads or levitating beds. It's in the silence between screams, the slow realization that this evil doesn't come from fantasy, but from the deep, ancient fear of the unknown. By the end, when the priests stand bloodied and broken, and the dawn finally touches Regan's face, it feels less like victory and more like sacrifice. The evil may be gone, but innocence is lost forever. Even now, decades later, The Exorcist still whispers in the dark corners of your mind. You hear a floor creak, a whisper of breath that doesn't belong to you, and your heart skips, because once you've seen this film, you'll never look at an empty room, or hear a child's laugh in the night, quite the same way again. 5. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974. A road trip gone wrong turns into a descent into pure madness and human horror. The Texas sun beats down mercilessly, baking the asphalt and the bones beneath it. 5 friends travel through the countryside, just a van, an open road, and the smell of dust and gasoline. They laugh, they dream, they talk about the future. But out here, the world is different. The air feels wrong. The silence between the cicadas feels alive, as if something ancient is watching. Then they see the old house, weathered, broken, and waiting. The first scream doesn't come from a monster. It comes from the realization that humanity itself can rot. When Sally and her friends stumble upon the Sawyer family, they find no supernatural evil, only flesh, hunger, and madness. Leatherface appears without warning, a towering figure in a mask of human skin, swinging his chainsaw like a symphony of terror. There's no dramatic music, no slow reveal, just the raw, deafening roar of the blade and the panic of prey realizing there's nowhere to run. What makes the Texas Chainsaw Massacre so horrifying isn't the blood, it's the realism. Everything feels too real, the sweat, the fear, the trembling breath as the camera lingers too long. The horror seeps through the screen, crawling beneath your skin. You can smell the decay of the house, hear the squeal of the saw, feel the claustrophobic dread as night falls and escape becomes impossible. Sally's screams become the soundtrack of survival, piercing, endless, desperate. She runs through the woods, chased by death itself, while the sun rises like a cruel joke. By the time she escapes, laughing and crying in the back of a pickup truck, she's not the same girl who started that journey. She's something else, a survivor carved out of terror. Tobe Hooper's film isn't about ghosts or demons. It's about the horror that lives in us, in hunger, in cruelty, in the madness hidden behind polite smiles and locked doors. The Sawyers aren't monsters born of nightmares. They're what happens when morality burns away under the Texas sun. Even decades later, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre still feels raw, unholy, and disturbingly possible. It doesn't just scare you, it violates your sense of safety. So the next time you're driving down a lonely highway, and you see a farmhouse in the distance with its door slightly open, maybe keep driving. Because once you've heard that chainsaw roar, you'll never forget the sound of it echoing in your dreams. 6. Don't Look Now, 1973, When Grief Clouds the Eyes. Even the living can mistake death for salvation. Venice, a city of beauty and decay, its canals whispering secrets through the fog. John and Laura Baxter arrive here trying to escape the unbearable, the death of their young daughter, Christine. They believe that distance, that time, might dull the pain. But in a city built on water and ghosts, grief finds a way to follow. From the start, Venice feels wrong. The light bends strangely through stained glass. Footsteps echo where no one walks. And John keeps catching glimpses of a small figure in a red raincoat, the same one Christine wore the day she drowned. Is it memory? Is it madness? Or something far more sinister calling from the shadows? Laura, desperate for comfort, meets two elderly sisters, one blind, yet claiming she can see their dead daughter's spirit. Her words are both balm and warning. Christine is happy, but you must leave Venice. Yet John refuses to believe in such things. He's a man of logic, of reason. But reason begins to crumble as the city itself seems to twist around him. Reflections move on their own. And laughter trails through the fog like the cry of a ghost. What's haunting isn't only the horror you see, it's the grief that seeps into every quiet moment. The way the camera lingers too long on empty streets. The way every sound, the drip of water, the tolling of a bell, becomes a heartbeat of dread. Director Nicholas Roeg turns mourning into a labyrinth, where love and loss blur into something terrifyingly intimate. And when John finally chases that red figure through the maze of canals, the truth hits like a blade, sharp, cold, and utterly final. Don't Look Now isn't just a horror film, it's a mirror. It asks, what if the dead don't haunt us at all? What if it's our own refusal to let go that turns love into something monstrous? The answer comes too late, as Venice swallows another soul into its mist, leaving only the ripples of tragedy behind. 7. The Omen, 1976. Sometimes evil doesn't come with horns, it comes with a smile. From the moment little Damien Thorne entered the world, something felt wrong. A flicker of light failed in the delivery room. The priest's hands trembled, and a quiet deal was struck in the dark. A grieving diplomat, Robert Thorne, accepting a substitute child after his own newborn was declared dead. A harmless lie, he thought, a way to protect his wife from heartbreak. But lies, especially the ones whispered at midnight, have a way of summoning things far worse than grief. As Damien grows, the world around him begins to fracture. Dogs snarl in fear, horses panic, and people, good, decent people, start dying in ways too deliberate to be coincidence. A nanny smiling sweetly before stepping off a rooftop, crying out, "It's all for you, Damien." A priest impaled by lightning as thunder splits the sky. These are not random tragedies. They are warnings. There's something unsettling about Damien's calmness. His quiet, unblinking eyes that seem to understand more than any child should. When the camera lingers on his face, you feel it too. The chill that creeps up the back of your neck. Whispering that innocence can be a mask, and that evil often hides in the small and ordinary. Robert Thorne, played with quiet desperation by Gregory Peck, becomes a man trapped between reason and revelation. He wants to believe he's raising a normal boy, not the Antichrist, but every sign, every cryptic scripture, every blood-soaked prophecy, points to a truth too horrifying to deny. The son he loves is destined to bring about the end of everything. And here's the cruel genius of The Omen. It doesn't scream its horror. It whispers it. The film builds dread like a church bell ringing in the distance, soft at first, but growing louder until it's all you can hear. The fear isn't in the gore, but in the inevitability, the sense that destiny, once set in motion, can't be undone. By the final act, as Robert races through darkened streets with a dagger meant for his own child, the question isn't just about saving the world, it's about the weight of love, how far a father will go to stop the evil he helped create. But evil smiles, patient and perfect, and as the cameras flash on a funeral morning, Damien's eyes meet ours, unblinking, cold, victorious. And you realize, the devil doesn't need to roar, he only needs to be born. 8. Carrie, 1976, when humiliation turns into horror, and rage burns brighter than hell itself. Carrie White was the kind of girl no one noticed, except to mock. A shy, pale-faced teenager with soft eyes and trembling hands. She walked the halls of her high school like a ghost. The cruel laughter of her classmates echoed around her every day, like a curse that never broke. And at home, things were even worse. Her mother, a religious fanatic, saw sin in every breath Carrie took. She prayed instead of comforted, punished instead of loved. Imagine growing up that way, no kindness, no warmth, only fear dressed in holy words. Then came that day in the locker room. The blood, the screams, the confusion. When Carrie's body betrayed her, the others turned feral, chanting, mocking, pelting her with tampons as she cried for help. It's one of cinema's most brutal moments, not for its gore, but for its cruelty, and it awakens something inside her. Something powerful, something dangerous. Carrie discovers she can move things with her mind. Doors slam, mirrors shatter, light bulbs flicker when she's angry. Her telekinesis becomes both weapon and wound, a reflection of all the pain she's bottled up for years. You can almost feel it growing, humming beneath her skin, waiting for release. And for a brief moment, it seems she might have her happy ending. A kind classmate's boyfriend, kind-hearted and guilt-ridden, takes her to the prom. She smiles. She dances, for once. She's seen. She's human. But horror has a way of crashing even the softest dreams. Above her, a bucket trembles. Inside it, pig's blood. And when it falls, time itself seems to stop. The laughter, the flash of humiliation, the betrayal, all fuse into a single, explosive moment of rage. The room shakes. The lights flare. Doors slam shut, trapping everyone inside. What follows is a ballet of destruction, elegant, fiery, merciless. Carrie becomes something more than human, more than victim. She's vengeance wrapped in innocence. Fury made flesh. You can almost feel sorry for her, even as she burns the world down. That's the twisted brilliance of Brian De Palma's direction. He makes you fear her, but also mourn her. You know this girl. You've seen her face in every bullied soul, every whisper of pain that went unheard. By the time the house collapses and the fire consumes her, Carrie isn't a monster, she's a tragedy. A girl who wanted to be loved, and instead became a legend whispered in fear. The final scene, the hand bursting from the grave, is more than a scare, it's a reminder. The horror never dies, it just waits, quietly, for the next broken heart. Because sometimes, hell hath no fury like a girl drenched in blood. 9. Suspiria, 1977. A dance academy drenched in beauty and built upon blood. The moment Susie Banyan steps off the plane in Germany, the rain lashes down like an omen. She's come to study ballet at the prestigious Tanz Dance Academy, a place whispered about for its excellence and shrouded in secrets. But the second those grand doors creak open, you can sense it too, can't you? Something beneath the surface hums, a rhythm darker than any music the dancers move to. A melody of witchcraft and death. Dario Argento's Suspiria is not just a film, it's an assault on the senses. The color, so vivid it feels unreal, bleeds into your eyes. The soundtrack by Goblin pounds in your chest like a living heartbeat, each note dragging you further into madness. You don't watch Suspiria, you fall into it, as if the walls themselves are whispering your name. It's a fever dream wrapped in crimson light and shadowed corridors, where every step sounds like a heartbeat, and every glance hides a threat. Susie, the naive but determined American, tries to fit in among the elegant dancers. But something is wrong. The academy seems alive, doors open on their own, strange noises echo at night, and whispers float through vents like trapped spirits. Then come the disappearances. A girl flees into the storm, her face twisted in terror. Moments later, she's found hanging in a grotesque tableau of shattered glass and blood. The message is clear. No one leaves the dance of death. As Susie digs deeper, she uncovers layers of deceit, sorcery, and murder. The dance school is merely a facade, hiding a coven of witches led by the Mother of Sighs, an ancient evil that feeds on youth, beauty, and fear. The revelation doesn't come like a shock. It unfurls like a curse you've known all along but dared not speak aloud. The deeper she goes, the more the film blurs the line between reality and nightmare. Is Susie losing her mind? Or is the entire academy a breathing, living creature feeding on her soul? Argento's direction is hypnotic, every movement, every shadow choreographed like a dance of death. The way the light flickers, the way colors pulse from soft pink to violent red, it all feels alive. You can almost smell the incense, feel the cold marble beneath bare feet, hear the whisper of silk tutus brushing the air. It's horror that doesn't explain, it enchants. You're not scared because of what you see, but because you don't understand what you're seeing. And when Susie finally faces the witch in the heart of the academy, the decaying figure of Helena Marcos, it's as if she's confronting the nightmare of womanhood itself. Beauty twisted into power. Grace turned to control. When she drives the pin through the witch's neck, the illusion shatters, the academy collapses, and the nightmare ends in fire and laughter. But the feeling lingers, because Suspiria isn't about what haunts the halls, it's about what haunts you after. The image of red light flickering against Susie's terrified face stays burned in your mind. And as you think back on it, you realize, the real horror of Suspiria is that it was never just a dream. It was a spell, and you were part of the dance. 10. Halloween, 1978, the night he came home, and horror changed forever. It begins quietly, almost innocently, a cold October evening in the small, sleepy town of Haddonfield. The streets are lined with pumpkins and laughter, children running door to door in their costumes, the scent of autumn hanging in the air. But behind one white mask, behind those hollow eyes, something inhuman watches, patient, silent, inevitable. His name is Michael Myers. And tonight, he's coming home. John Carpenter's Halloween didn't just scare audiences, it redefined what fear could be. The film doesn't rely on gore or monsters. It gives you something worse. A shape in the dark that never stops walking toward you. Michael Myers isn't a man. He's absence, an embodiment of evil so pure it feels eternal. His mask, pale and featureless, reflects nothing, and that's what makes him terrifying. You can project anything onto it, your fears, your guilt, your nightmares. It all starts years earlier, when a 6-year-old boy inexplicably murders his sister. No rage, no reason, just cold silence. He's locked away for 15 years. Studied, analyzed, written off as purely and simply evil. Then, on a stormy night, he escapes. The gates of the asylum swing open, and darkness seeps back into Haddonfield. Enter Laurie Strode, the innocent babysitter. The girl next door, unaware that the shadows are watching her every move. Jamie Lee Curtis plays her not as a victim, but as someone learning the price of survival. Her fear feels real because it is real. We see her grow from nervous teen to final girl. A survivor before that term even existed. And through her, we experience the primal terror of being hunted in your own neighborhood. Your own home. The places that were supposed to be safe. Carpenter's genius lies in what he withholds. The long, quiet shots of empty streets. The slow glide of the camera as it becomes Michael's gaze. The shrill, unforgettable piano theme that beats like a second heart. It's not music. It's a warning. He's near. The suspense is suffocating. And when he strikes, it's not the violence that terrifies, it's the silence that follows. Every creak of the floorboard, every flicker of shadow, makes you lean closer, straining to see what might be behind the curtain. And that's when he moves. Always walking, never running. Because Michael doesn't need to chase you. He knows, no matter how fast you run, he'll get there first. He always does. By the time Laurie stands trembling in that closet, clutching a wire hanger like a weapon, the film has peeled away all comfort. Halloween isn't about blood, it's about inevitability. The idea that evil doesn't die. It hides, waiting for the right night, the right silence, the right scream. And when it's over, when the credits roll and the breathing continues, you realize something chilling. Michael Myers isn't gone. He's out there, somewhere in the dark, watching, waiting. Because evil never ends, it just puts on a mask. The shadows may have faded, but their echoes still linger. Each scream, each flicker of light from these classics carved the path for every horror story that followed. You felt it, didn't you? That chill crawling down your spine. The uneasy silence after the final scream. If these timeless nightmares stirred something inside you, that dark thrill only true horror brings, don't let the feeling die here. Like, share, and subscribe, and step deeper with us into the darkness where fear never sleeps, only waits.